what does that world look like? That's a very different way to think. It sounds bizarre, but we think about it. How do you make healthcare fun? How would you make a patient laugh and smile and giggle?
Welcome to Inspiration Contagion, where we spread inspiration one story at a time. I am your host, Holly Jean Jackson. Each interview spotlights transformational business leaders, their stories, challenges, and advice for how you too can lead yourself and others through inspiration. Learn how you too can achieve peak performance, build more revenue, and lead the legacy you were meant to lead. Welcome back. This is episode 94 of Inspiration Contagion. And today I have a special guest with me. His name is Ryan A. Grant. Ryan is the founder and chief executive officer of Vori Health. Dr. Grant is a serial entrepreneur and board certified Yale trained neurosurgeon who was most recently at Jessinger Medical Center practicing complex spine surgery. He left his surgical practice to start Vori Health and to drive value-based healthcare transformation in musculoskeletal orthopedic sector. Wow, this is a mouthful. I'll let you explain that later to everyone that's like, what are we talking about? He's talking about your spine and your bones, you guys. That also includes treatment for back, hip, and knee pain. My goodness, I think we've all had that if you're above the age of 21. Additionally, Dr. Grant co-founded Nomad Health, which is an award-winning online marketplace that directly connects healthcare clinicians to healthcare jobs. He has also participated in medical device development and taught several medical schools and universities. That is quite an impressive background, Ryan. So welcome to Inspiration Contagion.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Sorry, I butchered your introduction on a couple spots there, but I'm sure people got the gist of it. He's a cool dude. He's doing amazing things in the healthcare space. So we're going to dive right in. I want to hear, Ryan, what makes you an inspirational leader, or what would you say is your secret sauce?
It's a nice and loaded question. How do you actually pull people together to convince them or show them that they can do more than they think they can do, and really rally people around a cause, either something that's an outrageous statistic like climate change for those who are into that, or something that's just wrong with the world, or just the status quo, anything that makes you crazy in a given day. There's going to be a lot of other people who feel the same way. Can you find them? Can you rally them together? And do you have enough passion to then actually do the hard work to bring the change?
Yeah, amazing. And my goodness, there are certainly so many things in this world that need fixing, that need communities and causes and people to support and surround that change, whether it's climate change or, in your case, we're talking about the medical industry and the medical space and making sure that we're connecting people in better, more ethical ways that serve the patient. And actually, before we get into the next question, I'd love for you to share with the audience the reasoning behind your pivot and why you're passionate about your particular cause.
It's a great question. So, started Vori Health, which is in the musculoskeletal orthopedic sector. That's back, neck, hip, knee, hand, foot pain, etc. And wanted to solve several things. The care for orthopedics is literally out of control. So if you want to read Harvard Business Review from 2019 or other prominent medical journals, the estimate is the average U.S. health system does 50%, 50, inappropriate back surgery. 1 in 2. That's a pretty high number. Inappropriate knee surgery or unindicated surgery is usually in the 30 to 40% range for knee, depending on who you want to quote, and hips a little better at 15 to 20%. Those are pretty big numbers. And it's a systemic problem. You could go back to World War II of how the system developed this. And there's been lots of talk about it in medical journals, but it hasn't got tons of attention that most people for back pain actually get the wrong care in the United States. The wrong care. They also get the wrong care in other developed worlds as well. And is that okay? Is that satisfactory to people? And so I wanted to take a step back about, well, what's fundamentally wrong if most people in the world power are getting the wrong care for back pain? And I come from a variety of institutions that also are part of this. And we have a care model problem. And what does that really mean? I'm a board certified spine surgeon. I have no formal training in non-operative care. And the orthopedic surgeons are usually also not the right first physician to see for an orthopedic problem for the most part. And people are like, wait, what? Ortho's not the right group for orthopedics? Right. That's the conundrum. So the analogy would be, if you have chest pain today and I send you to a heart surgeon tomorrow, that seems bizarre, versus the cardiologist, the non-operative group. Well, there is a non-operative physician for orthopedics musculoskeletal called physical medicine rehabilitation or non-operative sports medicine. Most people never heard of the specialty. And so going right to a surgeon, even if it's the best surgeon in the world, who's very conservative, the literature would show if you see a surgeon first, your chance of having surgery is 2 to 3 times higher than not seeing a surgeon. And no one's trying to be a bad person. It's just how they're trained. So we wanted to start over and use the right physician, which is physical medicine rehabilitation, non-operative sports medicine. That's the medical doctor. These are board certified physicians. But then have them practice together with physical therapy, which it's another specialty designed to help with function and movement. But actually put those two specialties together and really make 1 + 1 = 3 and have those groups practice together. Because in the real world, the chance a physician and a physical therapist talk to each other is about 0. And so now we have the right physician working with the physical therapist together. Now you got the right team. Now you can focus on personalizing the medicine. Most medicine is still too paternalistic. Doctors tend to talk at people versus Nancy comes in with back pain. Why is she really here? Well, she wants to walk with her son Tommy, but she feels she can't because her back hurts. Her care plan's walking my son Tommy. Why else is she here? People don't come to the doctor for fun. What's she scared about? She's scared she's going to end up in a wheelchair like her grandfather and never work again. Is that true? Not true? Have you removed the patient's fear? Are you helping them get to Tommy? Are you giving them a diagnosis? And we reduce surgery by about 80%. We're not anti-surgery. We're just anti-inappropriate surgery. We believe surgery needs to be used like alcohol responsibly, and the country's drunk on surgery. And make sure people get to the right team at the right place. And we can get a lot of people better. Really focus on best-in-class non-operative care and show that you can lower procedures by 80% and still get people better than the traditional health system. And that's why I shut my practice down to do this full time.
Yeah. Yeah, we could talk about this for a long time. I'm really passionate about this personally because, first of all, I don't believe that the surgery that I had for my spine was something that was inappropriate, and I exhausted several things. And we've talked about this before, but I know so many people who have had inappropriate surgeries, and that was their first step before trying physical therapy, before trying non-operative things, before really exploring other more holistic and preventative modalities. And not to mention personally, based on what Ryan just shared, I can tell you countless times where surgery has been recommended. I was having some hip pain on the left side, which I have a 10-level spinal fusion, which is from a degenerative disc disease. And I think many of you know this who have been listening to the podcast or who've read the book, but it's a chronic pain. It's something that's very difficult to manage. It got rid of the nerve pain, but the muscular pain continues. And it's very much linked to other pain points. So like the neck above the spinal fusion, and then the hip, of course, because I have most of my spine fused. Yeah, you're going to have some pain. But I remember visiting a doctor And my primary care doctor referred me to a sports medicine doctor who wasn't just all about surgery. So he was actually in preventative as well. So he recommended doing an MRI, and we did an MRI with the, what do you call it, the dye or whatever, so you could see it. And there was nothing really there. It was like maybe minor impingement. His suggestion upon visiting him after this diagnostic was exploratory hip surgery or giving up everything that I loved. That would include rock climbing and hiking, all these things. And, the normal patient who hasn't experienced a lot of health challenges and setbacks would take that, and they'd be like, okay, great, let's do that. I'm in pain. It took me a year and a half, but I worked with a physical therapist and some other experts, and I hardly have any hip pain. I didn't need surgery. I do all the things that I love at even higher levels. And so I'm grateful that I have those tools. And that's why Ryan's here, is because I want more people to realize and recognize you have to advocate for yourself. And it's sad that you need to do that in the healthcare system, but you do. But that's not what we're here to talk about specifically. We're also here to talk about inspiration in Ryan's business. So I digress, but Ryan, can you tell the audience, what does inspiration mean to you?
Like I pulled out a little earlier, would be to pull out the best in folks. It's taking an idea, something that you can't stop thinking about, and making your team even better than you, and really climbing up and doing things that you didn't think were possible by inspiring folks to call to action. And the inspiration to a degree with a team is sort of like a cult. It's not the bad cult, but there's like sports teams are cults, right? Like people wear their jersey, they have uniforms on, and they're cheering for a team. That's sort of cultish to a degree, of getting people all on the same line, same thinking, and to really, really charge ahead at a task that's challenging and hard. Because growth and comfort do not exist together. So in order to actually grow, you have to be uncomfortable. And to feel okay with discomfort, you have to be inspired enough by something that it's worth feeling uncomfortable. What are you shooting for? What is that purpose? How does that match your other purpose? What's the purpose of, why are you on the planet? Is it to help other human beings? Is it to help nature? Is it to be a good family member? Like, to get like, what drives you? What inspires you to go to work the next day? Like, what's inspiring you?
I like that. Let's create an inspiration cult where people are actually activated and excited to create businesses, causes, nonprofits, and movements that actually solve real world problems and have a ripple effect in the community. That would be pretty amazing. So we're going to shift dynamics a little bit. I want to speak to you a bit about peak performance. You kind of seeded this a little bit with your answer about building that cult. I like that kind of analogy in a positive way. But how would you define peak performance, and how did you arrive at this definition for your business?
Peak performance is finding people to complement your deficiencies. So you have your own peak performance, and then you have your team's peak performance. And the way I really think about it is, it's a getting comfortable, getting uncomfortable again, of going down through a journey of more and more self-awareness, which will be painful because you have to be willing to look in the mirror and realize what you're not good at. But also, what are your bad behaviors? Every human has them. Every human gets mad. People say things they shouldn't say. People get short with bull. When are you helping a situation? What are things that make you have a bad day? Why? What's the pattern? And when do you not show up to work well? Because that will transfer to your team. Because if you think about your own life, what brings people smiles and happiness? And it's positive energy around others. So how you interact with others has a huge bearing on how they feel. And how someone feels has a huge bearing on peak performance. People don't perform well if they don't feel good, and they don't perform well if they feel depressed or anxious. But you do need the right type of stress. If you have no stress, there's no incentive to get stuff done. So you need the stress of the April 15th deadline to pay your taxes. Otherwise, people will just procrastinate. You need the stress of paying the mortgage to go to work. And so you want the right type of stress with the right people, the right motivations, and you want to make sure that you weed out takers, people who are only in it for themselves. One taker, one bad apple can really poison a team. And some folks will say it takes 10 good folks to get over the one bad person. So as you think about assembling a team, number one would be, if you're looking for high performers, are they in it for themselves? Are they in it for the team? And to, at all costs, make sure you don't bring on takers who are in it for themselves. That will poison your team and make it perform much less well.
Yeah, no, I agree with all of that. And that kind of aligns with this metaphor or synonym for a positive cult, right? So if we layer in what you just shared there, it's about finding those people that are mission, vision, and values aligned. Typically, those are people that are not the takers. They're excited and in it for helping you fix this massive problem in the medical industry, getting exposure, getting awareness, being very much about the care model for the patients that you're working with, supporting the medical providers to pair in that model. And I also love the call out of getting comfortable with discomfort and being okay looking in the mirror. Guys, nobody's perfect. If you're listening today, you're not perfect either, even if you think you are. And who wants perfection, anyways? But it is about being aware of when you're not at your best so that you can lean on folks and find other strategies to show up in the best way you can, even on those days when you're not 100%. Now, I want to ask you, Ryan, obviously this isn't perfect. The road to peak performance is paved with challenges and obstacles. What are some of the biggest challenges and obstacles that you've faced in building peak performance at your company?
I would say, and I think it's still a work in progress and will still be a work in progress 20 years from now, is on the leadership side, I would say the number one hardest thing is controlling your own emotions. And I would say that's all leaders. When are you frustrated? Even if you don't show it, people go through the same emotions. And so when are you anxious, fearful? How does that impact your performance? And really start to categorize things that make it peak and not, and train your mind to do those types of things. Getting to a peak performance or excelling at something is there's no substitute for super hard work. And there's
Yeah.
no substitute for work ethic. But the fastest way to success and finding what works is to most quickly find what doesn't work. So if you're going through a forest with no trail, the fastest way to find your way out is to find all the ways that don't get you out. And so, but society does not prioritize failure. People tend to shy away from it. You can only win. But if you want to do something new and learn, then you have to get comfortable with failing and then learning from that, because that's the fastest way to success.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I would say that the most successful business owners that I've worked with, whether they're clients or business partners, are the ones that are okay with failing fast and reframing that quote unquote failure as a lesson learned or a strategy that didn't work so that then they can refocus and double down on strategies that do work. But if you never try anything, you guys, you don't have a business, you don't have a model or a path forward. I 100% agree. You have to work on being clear and aware of where your emotions are, how that affects your team, how that affects your clients, how you can combat that. And as Ryan shared, manage that better, which is a lot of hard work that never ends. It never stops, you guys. You're constantly going to be learning how to be a better leader and a better person. So welcome to the Cool Kids Club. That's what we're here to do. It is the Cool Kids Club. It's worth it. So Ryan, how would you say that you've created a culture of peak performance amongst your employees?
That's a great question, and I would say it's still a work in progress. I think we're always learning in terms of how far you can go. One, it's making sure you have the right people on the bus. That's the most important. Two is making sure they're all aligned on the mission. What is the mission? What are you trying to achieve? Why? Why should we care? And making sure that you're able to articulate your strategy with ultra clarity. If you're not able to articulate your strategy and communicate it clearly, you will not have peak performance. You will not get to your destination because people, if it's fuzzy for you, it's certainly going to be very fuzzy for your team. Clarity is of utmost importance. Where are you going? What is the North Star 10 years from now and working backwards? What do we need to do this month, this quarter, this year to move the needle to get a little bit closer to our promised destination that we're all going for? Making sure people's expectations are set. Is this going to take a month? Is this going to take 10 years? What's success look like? But then getting folks to realize that the journey is the most fun part. You're going to learn. There's going to be a lot of stuff that doesn't work. There's going to be changes, and this is a learning mission. We're on an expedition. And weed out the folks who don't want to do that because it gets back to the right team. The most powerful motivator for most people is progress and meaningful work. So if you have the right team who's aligned to a mission and vision, just like if you go into school, like getting your graduate degree or your undergrad degree, 4 years from now is the North Star to get a diploma. Getting the next 4 years together and making sure people are aligned, focused. That's always a challenge. The biggest challenge of leadership is how do you help keep a team aligned and as focused as possible on the mission at hand. And you can't over communicate too much. And as your team gets bigger, you start to say the same things over and over and over again, but that's what helps keep people stay aligned. Making sure you celebrate the wins, even if they're small, and then analyze the failures so that they're learnings, and then do your best over time to build psychological safety. What does that really mean? People can come to work as their authentic self and can truly voice a contrarian opinion without any fear of retaliation, which means also the person who's voicing that opinion that might be contrarian to what others might be thinking, the people listening to that can't get defensive, which is the normal response when people feel challenged, is to get defensive. And so getting people to think through, we're not here to prove who's right or wrong. We're here to try to understand how do we do things better. And every perspective is just another lens into how people might see the world, and combining them might be better than any individuals. And to really get people to think through, their detectives trying to make the world a better place versus proving who's right versus who's wrong.
Yeah, so much wisdom in there, and some of the pieces I want to re-highlight for our listeners are having that clarity of your vision, your mission, and your strategies. That's the pillar of being successful in hiring the right people, building that right culture. And if you are not repeating and super hyper clear on all of that and how to communicate that in a way that works for all different types of learning styles, communication styles, etc., it's impossible to keep people aligned. And I love also how you layered in there that North Star, being able to paint a very clear picture of what success looks like a year from now, 10 years from now, having those clear expectations. That's what's going to motivate people. And of course, a big factor I've noticed quite a few of our folks who've come on here recently, we've discussed this, have been mentioning psychological safety. And I feel like this is finally cropping up from COVID and beyond. And we're seeing it also with smaller business owners. But if you're going to be a successful leader, you have to be okay with your blind spots. You have to be okay with your assistant or somebody on your team saying, gosh, Holly, or gosh, Ryan, I've found a better way to do this. And I tell my assistant, my marketing team, et cetera, I say, this is the way I've been doing it. If you know a better way that's going to produce better results, please tell me. And if I'm making a mistake, please correct me. I am totally okay with, owning that and fixing it and correcting it and taking responsibility for it. And that's how you build that team and that safety. And even when I make mistakes, I tell my assistant, I tell my team members, I say, gosh, I messed up on this. I'm sorry. I take full responsibility for that. This is how we're going to move forward. Really important things, guys. I hope you're taking notes. Hopefully, that is giving you some ideas for building your culture of peak performance. Ryan, I wanted to ask you, how have you optimized those same pillars of peak performance to create an amazing customer experience in your company?
The great question is thinking through who's the end user. And so getting folks to get out of their head and really think about who they're serving, because things tend to be abstract. People talk about customers, people talk about businesses, people talk about the IRS. At the end of the day, those are all just people. Those are just groups of people. Those are just individual human beings that have been organized. There's the Internal Revenue Service, another business, the government. They're just human beings. So when you pull back the onion a bit and realize, oh, it's not just a company. It's like I'm serving a human being. What is the human being's need? And so as you think about doing that, you'll have some hypotheses as you bring out a new product or service that you think people will like, but you don't know until you get it into people's hands. And most people don't know what they don't. Most people can't tell you what they want until they see it and feel it, and then they'll tell you what they like and don't like about it. And then you watch them interact with it, and you make changes based on where are they getting confused, where is it not clear, is it really solving for a need? But then going even a step back further, what are you trying to build for? What's the pain point? Why is the customer or the other human being coming to you? They're hiring you for a job. So like on a jobs to be done mantra, like you hire the airplane service to fly you to an event so that you can get somewhere faster. You're just trying to get somewhere faster. That's the only reason you go on an airplane is to just get somewhere faster. There's other modes of transportation. What are you hiring your TV to do? To connect to the news, to connect to the movies? What are you hiring your phone to do? To connect to other human beings? Like, what is the job to be done with clarity? And what is the pain point you're trying to solve with clarity? Like, why do you think what you're doing is even better? What's the pain point? And then getting as much feedback from customers, other human beings as possible. How do you do that? You have to go talk to them. You can't sit in a room and look at market research and just focus groups. You need to go talk to people and get feedback, change, make iterations, and then go back to them again. And then again and again and again to keep changing so that you have if you want to have the best customer experience and the best product, then make sure you're building and changing things for the people who use it and not just yourself.
Yeah, so well said. And one of the nuggets of wisdom in there I want to just call out to our listeners is most people can't tell you what they actually want and need. This applies to business, it applies to life. Why is this important? The more clear you are on your ideal customer, your avatar, whatever you want to call it, the person you are serving, Jane Doe, Jeff, Jackson, whatever that looks like, and you can clearly communicate in their own words, not your words, but your customers' words, the pain points that they're experiencing, they're much more likely to work with you, because then it's not Vori Health selling you something. It's Vori Health finally listening, hearing and seeing you as a human who's in pain. Because let's be real, most people go to the doctor because it's limiting their life. They're in physical pain. They're not able to do things. They have fears about not being able to be there for their grandchildren. And the more you can communicate that, the more they're going to be excited to work with you. They're going to feel optimistic. the biggest problem I see for business owners is a lot of them, when they're providing a service, they're 10 to 100 steps ahead of the pain point they're addressing for their customer, and they forget to market and communicate and work with their customer where they are. You guys meet your customer where they are, get clear on that, obsess about their experience, their words, their pain, so that you can create the best customer experience for them. Thanks for that, Ryan. We're going to pivot a little bit and talk about revenue. So, Ryan, I want to have you share with our listeners, since you've been so authentic and transparent, when have you left money on the table in the past with your business, and what did you do to fix it?
It's a great question. Well, in the beginning of a company, while you're trying to figure things out, you might have multiple business models or multiple different customers and you haven't really figured it out. And so, like with Vori, we've been approached international. Sure, we service international clients today. I don't think we're ready for it. There's plenty of work to do in the United States. I think international will be something we can do in the future, but I think it would distract the team and actually make our core quality go down. So it's what can you do at once? It's so sequencing that, like, we will serve other countries in the future, but we have decided to say no to that at the moment to stay focused and prioritize. We can make our core product and service the best it can be, and then at a later date can expand it later. I would say most companies, this assumes that they have a problem they're really solving and they have customers who would really want to use it, die from indigestion, trying to do too many things at the same time, diluting the experience because they're not focused enough. And if you're really trying to move the needle, let's say you have 10 things, you're a young company, that all customers all want. You're not going to move all 10 to the 50-yard line at the same speed. And it would be better, in my opinion, to move one or two of those to the 50-yard line with great experience than it would be to move all 10 to the 5-yard line. Even though, if mathematically 50 times 1 is 50 and 10 things in the 5-yard, it'd be much better to focus on those. You can eventually do all 10 of those if they make sense, but it's okay to leave some money on the table if it doesn't make sense, to focus. And some deals are bad deals.
Yeah.
And so it really has to get back to, does it do your core? Does it make sense? Does it move your business forward? Does it distract your team? And so we think about, what's the long game? Are there ways we can make money faster in the short run? Yes. Would that help us the long run? We don't think so. And so we don't want to dilute offerings, just stay focused on our core. That's how we think about it.
Yeah, no, that's a great example. And that's a really intelligent way and strategy for leaving money on the table. I see this so many times where either somebody will make the mistake of launching with one thing that they've spent years building that they haven't beta tested in the market to sell, and they put all their eggs in one basket and fail miserably, because guess what, guys? You actually have to market the thing. It's not going to just magically sell. Or like you just said, they will try to be everything to everyone and have all of these services, and then they fail to meet their customers' expectations, which means they don't retain the customers that they get. And it's really expensive to continue to get leads to convert into clients. It's much better to have amazing clients to become raving fans that help you grow slowly, intelligently, and strategically, because you do such a stellar job with your core competencies and become known and really great at one or two things versus 20 things. So thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, what is the next shiny object that you want to turn into revenue stream for your business?
That's a great question. We're going to expand into pediatrics for musculoskeletal conditions. And we already, orthopedics, musculoskeletal back pain, which is the most common, has a large overlap with weight. The United States is the most overweight country. And 30% or so of back pain is because some people they're just carrying too much weight on them. So there's dietitians to help people lose some weight and just eat better. But then also with this craze of being able to get into the GLP-1 space, which is a craze going on for weight loss meds. But all those meds only work if you mix it with behavioral change. Otherwise, you're on an injection for life. And so making sure you educate people. There's not a magic bullet. If you saw in Newsweek earlier this week, they put an article out about the suicide rate for GLP-1 use. There's a risk of increasing depression, and some people have killed themselves from the GLP-1s, which is the ultimate side effect. Terrible. Someone lost their life. Multiple people lost their life. So there is no such thing as a safe drug that doesn't have any side effects. And so making sure people understand the risk, the benefit, what are we trying to solve for, and help people achieve their journey. And so getting more sophisticated into the weight loss regimen to better take care of folks with back, neck, hip, knee, hand, foot, shoulder pain, more sophisticated women's health, urinary incontinence is a big thing that people don't want to talk about, but you can get a lot of people better by strengthening the pelvic musculature. And a lot of people, you can get those symptoms to go away if you actually strengthen those muscles, which is life-changing from people having to regain continence is a big thing. And just helping people with pain. And so those are the big things there. More sophisticated care in terms of more and more gamification. So we think about on the healthcare side. We think an unmet need in all of healthcare is fun. Some stuff inside of healthcare is super serious. Cancer is very serious. There's nothing fun about that. But a lot of things we do in healthcare are boring. Going through TSA pre-check's boring. Clear is boring. Those are just processes to get through security at the airport. But how would you really delight a patient? How do you really delight a human being on the healthcare side? So we talk a lot internally about what would it take, Nancy, a prototypical patient, to go home and brag about seeing the doctor. Brag. People don't talk like that. Healthcare is very private. What would the experience have to be like to make it to a level that people haven't seen before, where it's really fun and people look forward to going to the doctor? What does that world look like? That's a very different way to think. It sounds bizarre, but we think about it. How do you make healthcare fun? How would you make a patient laugh and smile and giggle? At the end of the day, we're human beings. Why do we enjoy activities that we do? Because they're fun, delightful. Why can't you infuse more of that into healthcare?
Yeah, I am really excited about all of the new revenue streams you just talked about. In particular, very, very excited to hear about the women's health piece, but additionally, the weight stuff. It's just crazy what we're seeing on social media there. But the part I'm most excited about is making healthcare fun and empowering patients to advocate for what they want and need and giving them the tool sets that they need to make lifestyle change and habit change fun and to celebrate those wins along their journey. Can you imagine if you had like a leaderboard with everybody at that practice? And obviously they have to opt into it, where maybe it's not even sharing anything private, but it's so and so earned 5 badges for their health thing, right? And because of that, they get some sort of award. Just making it fun and playful and informed, where they can also do self-education, learn things that are holistic to help change their lifestyle. There's so many different ways you could do this. And I also know lots of really cool companies that are startups that are in the pediatrics and the youth space that are also trying to gamify meditation and confidence building things and soft skills that from a mindset perspective affect a child's trajectory for health and success in the future. So I am excited to see what you guys come up with there. Amazing.
No, and we are too in terms of just how far you take it. So
Yeah. Cool. Well, this has been a great conversation. We're going to wrap up with 2 quick questions and let you get on your way to building this amazing future of healthcare. Ryan, what is the best one piece of advice you would share with others today?
just get started. I think lots of the world lots of people have great ideas. Lots of people are very creative. We were all creative as kids. We had wonderful imaginations. I think that gets stamped out of us as we become adults. You can unlock your inner creativity again and just get started. I think a lot of people get paralyzed thinking about really large projects versus what can you do tomorrow and the next week a little bit to just make a little bit of progress and get going. And don't let yourself be in your way. You're in control of your own life, even though sometimes it doesn't feel like it.
Amazing. Get started, everybody. And my last question, what's the legacy you wish to leave behind?
I'd like to make sure that the human race is, by the work that we're doing, has evolved or moved the human race forward. Not looking to be famous, but how do you move the human race forward for the better?
Beautiful. Yeah. I really, really hope that you guys are able to be successful in that space from personal experience and from what I've heard. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your thoughts on peak performance, revenue, and inspiration. For those of you who love what Ryan's doing, want to get more involved, want to become a patient, want to work with Ryan, I will have his website as well as social media links in the show notes. And if you're watching this on YouTube, it'll be in the comments. Thank you so much, Ryan. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, we'll see you guys soon on the next episode. Thank you for joining the show today. I hope you were inspired. More importantly, I hope you take action. If the show inspired you, I ask that you subscribe and share it with your network. Let's spread inspiration together today.